Hi, Nicola Grace, the Mission Mentor here, and I'm busting myth number 2 in this series, Common Myths Many People Live By that Prevent a Magnificent World from Being Born and What You Can Do Instead. This is a series that's all about the true principles to live and succeed by. In this video, I'm going to talk about the second myth that is particularly dangerous to follow if you're a changemaker, a social entrepreneur, a social innovator. And that myth is, if things aren't flowing, then it's not meant to be. I'm sure you've heard that. You may have even said that at some stage. It's a myth. This idea of flow is often used as a measuring stick for whether or not you're on track or you're on purpose. Now, while it is absolutely true that sometimes when things don't flow, you're off track, that is true. But it's not a truism in the sense of it being a universal law or a generalized principle that can be applied in all situations. It's just an idea that works some of the time, but not in others, which is what distinguishes it between a myth and a universal law. Why this myth is dangerous for changemakers to follow is because we often face the biggest challenge that gets in the way of everything flowing so we reach our missions accomplished. And that is resistance to change. Resistance prevents flow, but the right amount of resistance also helps create flow, as I'll explain. So if things aren't flowing in your mission because you're challenging the status quo, for example, either in your life and business or the world at large, it could be resistance stopping the flow. In this instance, resistance actually becomes an indicator that you are on track and you are doing something right. So if there's no flow in your mission in this instance and you said to yourself, well, it's obviously not meant to be because it's not flowing and I'm meeting lots of resistance, then you'd run the risk of giving up your mission, and all the good that mission would create in the world would never happen, and the world would never transform and evolve. See, it's a complete myth that things should be easy and in flow if you're on track and on purpose. Here's another curious thing about flow. Things can flow in your life precisely because you're in the box of your subconscious mind comfort zone. So as soon as you take a step outside of that comfort zone, which is what changemakers do, let's face it, on a daily basis, you're going to meet with a lot of internal resistance because your subconscious mind safety zone has a job to keep you safe and keep you in the box of the familiar and what's known to it. So flow in this example is a sign that no progress is taking place in your life and you're just flowing within an easy comfort zone box of your subconscious mind safety zone. So how do we make progress with our missions and in our social businesses when we meet with either internal or external resistance so we can keep things flowing along? Well, the truism that we can live by here that will work every instance is this universal law of resistance, more commonly referred to as Ohm's law. I call it the law of resistance because it governs whether resistance will allow flow or make the circuit blow. Ohm's law, crudely stated, determines the amount of current flow through a conductor between 2 points being directly proportional to the potential difference across 2 points. I know, really simply stated, that means flow is proportional to the energy that you're expending and the resistance that is present. So current flow is going to be proportional to how much energy there is and compared to how much resistance there is. But let's see how this works. There are several mathematical equations for Ohm's law, and I'm going to use this one. I equals V over R. I is the symbol for amps of current, how much current there is. V is the voltage or energy. R equals resistance. So divide resistance by energy and you have the level of current flow. Now, in this circuit, the light bulb represents the resistor or the resistance. The battery is the volt or the energy source. and the wiring is conductor, the conductor of the current flow. Now, if we apply voltage or energy to the circuit, but there's too much resistance, then we're not going to get flow. However, if we apply too much energy and there's not enough resistance, then the circuit might blow. So can you see that flow is proportional to the energy and the resistance? So resistance in some form is needed for there to be a current flow. Got it? But let's apply this law to money. If money isn't in consistent flow, it's because the energy output is not enough or it's not in the right proportion to the amount of resistance present. So if you let the resistance go, then the currency will flow. I love that. I was taught that by a really good friend of mine, Jerry Spicer, who teaches generalized principles by Buckminster Fuller. And he's also better known as the drummer of the Grammy Award winning Australian band Men at Work. And you might have heard their song, We Come From a Land Down Under. Whenever I teach the law of resistance or Ohm's law, I'm always reminded that I got taught this by Jerry. So I need to say, hi Jerry, and thanks so much for the education. Okay, so the idea of letting the resistance go to create flow works in this equation. But you can also apply more energy to overcome resistance to create more flow. So the next time you look at something that isn't flowing, rather than just let yourself off the hook and say, oh, well, it's not meant to be, especially if it is a mission or a vision you're really serious about wanting to see come into fruition and you're really passionate about it, you may simply just need to apply more energy to the circuit and let some resistance go so that you get the flow, rather than withdraw your energy voltage altogether from the circuit and then get distracted with the next thing that might be completely off purpose for you. Don't abandon ship, in other words. Just because things aren't flowing, realign, apply more energy, and let resistance go. Rinse and repeat until you get the flow. Make sense? I'm going to go into this idea of needing to remove resistance in order to become a magnificent change maker in greater depth in the upcoming online training, The Magnificent Changemaker's Blueprint. If you haven't signed up for that yet, head on over to rightmissionrightmoney.com and you can download the actual blueprint right away with my compliments. Plus, find out all the details about the training. Now, I've delivered a very crude and simple explanation of Ohm's law, so feel free to post a comment or question below and I'll do my best to answer it for you. But my point is that just because something isn't flowing, it isn't a truism that you're off track or that it's not meant to be. It could just be a sign that you're very much on track, but you need to apply more energy or let some resistance go, or a combination of the two. Possibly a little of both, right? Because current flow is proportional to the amount of energy applied and resistance present. Which is good news, because that means you don't need to let go of all that resistance to reach mission accomplished. Thanks for listening, and I hope I get to meet you over at rightmissionrightmoney.com, where you can download my magnificent Changemaker's Blueprint right away and get started with the training.